Thanks for joining us. I know this is the last session of the day, and I don't want me to be the person standing between you and your evening plans. I'm actually stepping in for Chiranjoy of Mankind Pharma. He could not join us because of some visa issues. So what I'm going to talk about is what we did with Mankind Pharma, the challenges that we faced, why we actually took a GenAI route in the first place, and what are our learnings, things to do and things not to do. So these are what I want to talk about. To give you a brief about Mankind Pharma, it is India's one of the largest in terms of volume, both in terms of prescription as well as number of drugs that they actually sell in the country. They are into multiple areas around some kind of diseases, like chronic disease, acute disease, as well as some of the consumer products as well. So they're all over the place. From a organization perspective, they have like 15,000 field reps on the ground, talking to millions of doctors across the country, gathering a lot of information, presenting their case, and finding out what needs to be done. So it's a very complex operation. Now, let me give you a sense in terms of philosophy. Mankind Pharma wants to support the tier 3, tier 4, as well as the villages in the country, which means they have 3 important challenges. One is affordability, second is quality, and third is accessibility. And why is this so important? One is they are actually competing with generics in terms of price. However, from a quality as well as mindshare perspective, they are actually competing with global giants for similar products. So they are in a unique dilemma, a tough balancing act to do. So that's their philosophy of what it is. Now, when we started to work with Mankind Pharma, we saw 3 important things. One is in terms of scale. The scale was huge, both in terms of transaction as well as in terms of the volumes of the various aspects that go into it. Second is complexity. Complexity in terms of languages, dialects, the way it works, the diseases in that specific place. So it's kind of complex. And the third important aspect is around the cost. Since they are competing with generics, it was very essential for them that they ensure that any solution that they build is really cost effective for delivering their products. What I wanted to do is I want to hear from Chiranjoy and what are the challenges that they're facing and the various initiatives that they have started to work on.
Hi, we at Mankind Pharma started our journey with Databricks about a year back. After thorough evaluation of the platform, we decided to move all our enterprise data into Databricks Lakehouse architecture. As we go through the process of building this foundational layer, we have already identified quite a few use cases that is going to impact our 15,000 plus medical representatives who serve close to 1 million doctors in India with 1,000 plus SKUs or products within our portfolio. All of this will drive data democratization so that each and every employee within Mankind Pharma can take better and more productive decisions. To give you a couple of AI and GenAI use cases that we are already developing as POCs, one is we are creating a natural language querying engine for our frontline salespeople so that they can ask a simple English language question to get answers and insights from internal as well as external data. Similarly, we are using GenAI to create new package design. This, we believe, are only the first steps towards the AI and GenAI transformation that Mankind Pharma is going to take in the next many years to come. Thank you.
Thanks for that. So before I get into the details of the solution, he talked about three important aspects. I want to give you a sense in terms of what the entire organization is going through. They have 1,000 SKUs, and it's very, very difficult for the field reps to understand all the 1,000 SKUs, the information around that. So typically, when you actually look at them, when they go to the doctor, they need to pitch to the doctor in terms of what that particular product is, some of the packaging details, the various statistics around that. That's very, very critical when they have a discussion with the doctor. So remembering all of them or trying to find that has been a big pain for all of them. The second important aspect is once the prescription happens, they have to quickly figure out the supplier side or delivery side of the information in terms of, hey, where is the inventory? Which chemist has what amount of inventory? Where is the shipping information? These are very, very critical because if the doctor prescribes something and the medicine is not available in that area, you typically find them giving an alternative and thereby losing a business. So it was very important for them to look at what I call the supplier side or the delivery side of information. And finally, from a language perspective, if you are actually working with 15,000 people, all of them are not fully English trained. Everybody has a slang. You would see me speaking in a very different English compared to most of you. But in India, if you look at the complexity, we have 26 languages, written and spoken. Okay, so they're very, very unique to each other. Add 1,000 plus dialects to it. So it's now you can understand the complexity. The second important information is when they are conversing with their doctors or their suppliers or their chemists there, they need to converse in their local language, which makes this entire complexity like multi-fold. Let me give you an example. Let me take a very ordinary example, not the medical one. For example, if I need what I say sugarcane juice, it's a simple 2-letter word. In India, people might come and say, hey, I need ganne ka juice. Ganna ka is a Hindi word. Juice is an English word. You see the combination of it. Unless an LLM understands both the language and knows when to split, it is very, very difficult. So these are the kind of challenges the reps were going through. So when you look at some of these operation challenges, regulatory challenges, it might look very simple and straightforward. But when I add the various aspects that I talked about, language, visibility, as well as the complexity, it makes the life of the field rep as well as the organization very, very difficult. And when we started to talk about GenAI to the customer, the executive leadership there was very clear. They did not want to spend a lot of money on it because of their philosophy. Second, they were very, very protective of their IP. They did not want anything to go out. So that was the second important thing. And the third important aspect then when we were talking to them was, hey, can I actually make it simple for everyone to the rep on the field? That is the big goal that they all carried. And though it looked very easy, it is very, very difficult one. The second thing that we worked on with them was around how do I do packaging of the product? With thousands of SKUs, they had a large team of people who would design the product, who would label the product, whether it's internal or external set of people, spend a lot of time and money. And they wanted to see, can we find a better way in terms of doing this, which makes it more cost effective and quicker as well. And finally, everybody wanted voice. And I gave you an example of a couple of words that we use. How do you use voice from the various stakeholders, but get the desired result that they want? And I'll explain to you some of these aspects in detail. So let me take the first one. So firstly, we said, hey, Genie Room seems to be a good place for you to start. One, in terms of understanding your own information. So it was fairly straightforward. And when we started off this discussion, Genie Room was in private preview, and it was only available in the US. And moving data out of India was a no-no because of all the regulations that we had. So we actually took a sample data, we changed a lot of context, we moved it to a US data center to have them test everything. Now, when they tested this, they had three observations. One is in terms of accuracy. The accuracy was 70%, which I thought was good from a natural language processing, but the customer said this is not acceptable. Okay. The second thing was when we moved data here, a lot of context was missing because we took specific data. We said, hey, let's use the data for our POC and testing. The context was missing, so it was very difficult for their team to say, hey, this works well, or this is the right answer or wrong answer. And the third important aspect was the missing of the various semantic information or information beyond what we supplied to the Genie Room, which created a lot of problems. Now, when we started this discussion and we had this multiple rounds, the customer was almost ready to say, hey, this is not the right solution for us, let's move on. Now, here I want to actually thank our engineering team. They actually took each and every feedback. They made those changes that was required because there were some challenges with our Genie Room and how text to SQL was getting created. Second, they also enabled this in India region, which made our life super helpful. And third is now we had the entire data. I mean, they had their own data to test it out. When they did this, their results were very, very encouraging. The organization was happy. The leadership seems to be super happy with it. So in the first round, we said, instead of opening this up for the entire organization, let's open this for only the CEO office, CFO office, where they can actually ask straightforward questions. Hey, sales by SKU, where are the diseases spread, which areas are we seeing better traction? These are simple questions that they were able to get in. Now, as stage one is complete, we are working on stage two, which is helping reps to actually ask similar questions, where they can actually pick up a particular package or ask for a particular SKU and say, hey, give me everything about this SKU in terms of what this SKU is, what are the critical information, what are the statistical or data points that I need to use to talk to the doctor and convince them that this is the product that they need to prescribe. So that's the second stage that we are looking at. It's been an interesting journey, I would say. When we had smaller data set, which was more structured, we had better results, but now we started to open to larger data sets. Our learning here is don't start opening this to all your data sets. It is, unless you are 100% sure on what that data set is and you have control on it, the results are not great. Now, with that said, as we got this learning, we are now slowly opening up data set after data set on the Genie Room. We have already enabled like 6 teams right now, and we are further enabling to a larger team as we talk about. So, as a GenAI product, we said, hey, what's the simplest thing to do? Use Genie Room to move forward. That's step one. The second thing, I talked about the field reps finding out what about a product and other related issues. Now, this is exactly where we had to use our GenAI RAG architecture. What did we do? So we said, hey, why don't you actually use the information around your various products, ingest that, and start asking questions. So the first one to jump in here was the CEO office. You know what they did? They actually ingested the investors report as well as the calls transcript of all of their organization as well as their competitors' organization. And they used that to understand the various aspects or various questions that they have. It was very important because this gave them an understanding in terms of what medicine was required, where is the information, and how to pitch it to a doctor. So it's super important that they started to look at. And the next step that they have started to do right now here is to create the first drafts of regulatory reports using LLM. Now, when you do regulatory reporting, as in any country, it is not one for the organization. You would have to do one for SKU level, a set of different products. So the amount of regulatory reports that an organization had to file was so large that using the RAG architecture that we created, they've been able to use this to generate the first drafts of the report, which can further be modified and presented. This actually reduced a lot of time to the CFO as well as the regulatory office that they had. So that's the second use case that we are working on. The third important aspect that we were working on was around the package itself. When we look at the package, there are a lot of small components around this, and you typically have questions. The doctor asks a lot of questions in and around that, and it's very difficult for the field to remember all of it. So we gave them an option where they can actually use voice to ask those questions and then get the relevant answer. So it was a combination of RAG plus voice, where we converted the voice to text, and using text, we started to ask questions and got the relevant results. So it's work in progress as I speak, but we are seeing some good traction there. Now, here is an example that we used in Mankind Pharma around different use cases. The organization was very clear. Hey, one, the answers have to come out quickly. The second, it has to be factual, meaning they wanted to drill down and look at almost like I used to always call it's like the lineage of data, you know. I want to know where is this information coming. So it was very important for us to present that, hey, this is the answer that you are asking for. However, here are the pages from which we have picked up. So when you click on the link that you see here, it actually takes you to the exact page from where we are picking up the information and summarizing them. This gave the entire organization more, they were more happy. One. Second is they also knew that since it was factual information, they could present it to a larger audience beyond their own. So that is an interesting take that we did from a RAG architecture perspective. Now, the second use case that we did was to redesign the logo. And the need here was to create a 3D design. And how do you incorporate your logo, the various regulatory information, as well as the product contents that you typically give. So you can imagine doing this for 1,000 SKUs, it becomes so hard. So what we did is we worked with them on multiple things. So let me give you a sense of a picture. Yes. So there was significant prompt engineering work we did. We actually worked with DALL-E to start off with. And you see how the packaging came. Frankly, this was not acceptable to the regulatory authorities. It was too good, and mostly it looked like a 2D print rather than a 3D print. So in a package, when you really look at it, and I did not realize this till working with them, that 2D is not acceptable. It has to be a 3D picture. So we also worked with them on stable diffusion. The learning that we have is, at this point of time, the 2D images are really good. It shows a lot of things. However, there is some more significant work that we need to do to create 3D pictures, one. Second is to tone down the kind of pictures that you see on the packages, because it looks too flashy for a medical product. That is very important. So that is some work that we are currently doing. The learning here is clean. Can we actually have more data points around medicine, medical industry, to ensure that when you generate these kind of images, text to image, you get better outcomes rather than outcome which looks great on picture but cannot be used practically. So what they did is they actually used this picture on all the digital ads that they wanted to provide, and they had a very different picture on the product. So it's work in progress. We are saying, hey, if somebody is not able to correlate your digital picture to your actual picture on the product, it becomes slightly difficult for you to sell. So that's the second use case that we have worked on. And finally, the field force have to submit daily reports. Now, one of the, when we met their CEO, he said, hey, Rajesh, I like the information that I'm getting from them in terms of how many doctors they have seen, how much of medicine, how many prescriptions have happened, what is the feedback and all those. But I'm not getting a sense in terms of, is it the real picture or what is the mood on the ground? So what the CEO wanted to understand was, he wanted to understand how is the rep feeling when he is actually giving this info. Is he feeling great, or is he actually just giving the data for from a checklist perspective, saying, hey, I need to submit the report daily, can I do it? So the project that we are working on is, hey, why don't you actually submit your daily report using voice? And we want to do a couple of things. One is to analyze the voice, to see what is the voice saying. Is he happy? Is he confident? Is he feeling, hey, this is not going to work? This is a couple of aspects they want to look. Second, the entire, when we talk about voice, the data we get is in very unstructured way. How do we structure the information that we get in such a way that can be used for reporting purposes? That's the second part of it. And the third part of it is, once we get this, how do you collate all of them? Now, all of the reps are not going to talk in English. They're going to talk in their respective languages. So now it adds to all the complexity that we talked about. And this is a use case that we are currently working on with multiple models. We are seeing some good traction here, but there's still a lot of work that we need to do. So from a Mankind Pharma, submission of daily reports seem to be like a one-liner, but if you actually peel the onion, you will see a lot of things that the organization wants to know and do so that they are able to keep the field force happy and also get the desired information that they're looking for. So it's a very unique GenAI use case that I would say. It's not like a point use case, but it's like multiple LLMs that we need to stitch together to make it work. So that's the third important use case that we are working with them. Probably if we come next year, I would give a better update on what we learned, what was working, what is not working, but at this time it's too early. Okay. So just to summarize, I wanted to talk about, hey, natural language is super exciting. And this is the quote from the customer itself. They are currently evaluating. They started with multiple organizations. Can we do it at the enterprise scale? That's what they learned. Second, as I said, the image generation is at a very early stage. We need to revisit that. Can we find different ways to use it to make it more product friendly / regulatory friendly? And finally, the design and processing of audio analytics is super complex. We've been working on various aspects of it. As we go forward in the next few months, you will see us maybe presenting a white paper on how we went about doing this and how to achieve what you want. So those were the aspects that I wanted to talk about. Great, thank you very much.